Hello, all. Welcome to a class on art and literary aesthetics. I hope I find you all in good health and cheer. In today's video lesson, we will be discussing a song track, the 1975, which is performed and put together by the band, the 1975. So, this particular song track is actually a speech performed by Greta Thunberg, the environmental activist, and it is put to harmony by an English pop band named the 1975. So before we go ahead into the song lyrics, let's discuss something about Greta Thunberg. So she was born in 2003 in Stockholm, Sweden. Her mother was an opera singer and her father was an actor. And from a very young age, that is at the age of 8, she came to know about climate crisis and she became really invested in it, so much so that she became a very strong advocate for climate change. And at first she started skipping class on Fridays, and she was actually considered to be a founder of the movement called Fridays for Future. So what she was actually doing is she was skipping classes and she was protesting outside the Parliament building with a sign. And she started this in 2018 when she was nearly 13 years old. And it drew international attention, and she was soon joined by the others. So the movement actually developed and became quite big, and it gathered international attention. And similar strikes were actually conducted by students in other countries for climate related issues, countries like Belgium, Canada, USA, UK, France, etc. So she started spreading her message about a climate crisis to various parts of the world. She was invited as a speaker at various conferences and for international forums like the World Economic Forum in Switzerland, the European Parliament, and in 2018 she delivered an address at the United Nations Climate Change Conference. And also in 2019, she became a part of the United Nations Action Summit in the New York City. Now, what we have to know about Greta Thunberg is that she actually has Asperger's syndrome, which actually means that she is too obsessively concerned about something which draws her attention to it. For her, it was the climate crisis. So she became quite obsessive about this particular thing in her life. So because of her youth and because of her Asperger's syndrome, she actually drew a lot of attention internationally. And because of her youth and the power in her message, she garnered a lot of attention, and many people actually shifted their views and behaviors in favor of this ongoing climate problem. And this was termed as the Greta effect by many newspapers like The Guardian. We can actually say that she even practices what she preaches. Like, she doesn't use aircrafts or anything which is the cause of air pollution, greenhouse gases, etc. So even when she has to fly to some places or travel to some places, she uses means which causes as little pollution as possible. Now let's come to the band, the 1975. So this is an English pop rock band. They are based in Manchester. They were first formed in 2002 when they were teenagers. So there are 4 main members. Matty Healy, he is the lead vocalist and the rhythm guitarist. Adam Han, who is the lead guitarist. Ross MacDonald, who is the lead guitarist, and George Daniel, the drummer. So their main albums are 1975, which released in 2013. That was their first album. Then the next one was I Like It When You Sleep, for You Are So Beautiful Yet So Unaware of It, in 2016. A Brief Inquiry into Online Relationships in 2018, and Notes on a Conditional Form in 2020. It was in this fourth one, the Notes on a Conditional Form, that we can find the song, the 1975. So this band experimented with a lot of different genres of pop and rock music. They were also known for their use of relevant and very strong subject matter in their lyrical content. That's where their commitment to this particular song track also comes in. So let's discuss about the track, the 1975. This track released on 24th of July 2019, and later it was included in the band's fourth album, Notes on a Conditional Form. So this song was actually recorded the previous month. So Matty Healy and George Daniel, they traveled to Sweden to meet Greta there, and they recorded the speech there. So the band was already known for its concern with world events in their music. So this track, as I mentioned, it features a new speech by the 16-year-old Greta Thunberg. It was put to music, and this track directly invokes rebellion against the establishment in favor of climate crisis. So this track is actually a direct address to people to mobilize for a rebellion, and she also asks for a change at grassroots levels. So the way this song is actually put into a video, we can actually see that if you search for it, you can actually see that many images of climate environment are used directly from Shutterstock, and images available for free, images and videos available for free. It's actually provided in the background with a voiceover of Greta and musical accompaniment. So the proceeds from the song, it was actually given to a movement called Extinction Movement. So it is a global environmental movement. It's actually a non-violent civil disobedience kind of movement which compels governments to action against climate crises all over the world. So I'm providing 2 slides with the lyrics of the track. So you can pause and read this at the moment. So we will go ahead and do a content analysis of this song. This is actually quite simple. It's a very simple speech with a very strong message, and we can structurally analyze this particular speech in terms of the message she tries to convey using this speech. So first, it starts, this particular song or a track or a speech, whatever you can call it, it starts with a very poignant message. It is cautioning us about the gravity of climate crisis. So she says that we are at the beginning phase of a climate crisis, but still we are in a state of emergency. So she's claiming attention very directly without any introductions. She's claiming attention to her concern at the start of the song itself. So we can see that here she says we are right now in the beginning of a climate and ecological crisis. I need your attention on it. This is an emergency. We have to acknowledge this situation. It has to be brought under control. It's actually a very grave situation. We don't have much solutions. Then she goes ahead to say that there is a ray of hope. There is a possibility that all is not lost. How we can say that is, she says that we are in the beginning of a climate and ecological crisis. So she admits that we are at the beginning phase of it. So all is not completely lost. So she comes to say that our older generation, the people have failed. We are not moving very sustainably. All the political movements have failed us. But, so here at this turn, there is a ray of hope she provides. She says that the Homo sapiens, humans, have not yet failed. We are failing, but there is still time to turn things around. We can still fix it. And she ensures that we still have some things in our hands. We still have the power to turn it around. But we have to first recognize that the way we were doing things till now, it's not going to work in future. Those are bound towards failure. So now, she cautions us again. She says that we are facing a great disaster. It's going to be a lot of suffering for enormous amounts of people. So at this point of time, we have to stop speaking very politely. So look at the third point here. We need to acknowledge the impending doom and speak out. So we don't have enough time. We don't have the liberty of time to just be very polite to each other and observe pleasantries or anything. We have to stop all that. We have to start speaking out about this crisis, and we have to solve the climate crisis. It is actually the greatest and the most complex challenge that we as human beings have ever faced. So she offers a solution. So that is my fourth point here. See, she offers a solution. She has a very simple solution for the climate crisis. We have to stop greenhouse gas emissions. That is her solution. So she offers a solution here in the second stanza. The main solution, however, is so simple that even a small child can understand it. So she offers a very simple solution. She says that we have to stop our emissions of greenhouse gases. If we don't do that, we are going towards doom. Now she says something very strict here. She says that you either do that, you either stop emitting greenhouses, or you don't. You don't bring it down, or you don't control it or anything. You have to stop that. Stop it or not. She says that there is nothing in life is black or white. We say that we travel between two extremes and all. So she says that this is a lie. Even if we bring down the degree of global warming, the percentage of global warming by 1.5 degrees, we can make a change. So we can do all these things. There are some things in human power which is we can, as together as people, we can prevent a 1.5 degree of global warming. Otherwise, what happens to us is we will be we'll be continuing what our past generation has done, and we will be heading towards a doom situation. And we can either go back as a civilization, like don't continue the traditions which were followed by our older generations, or not. So she says that instead of just not doing anything and not caring anything, we have to start doing something, because she says that if we don't do something, we are going towards destruction. So it's not like you can get away with from destruction. So she says that there are no gray areas when it comes to survival. You probably will think that you can survive in some way or other. She says absolutely not. Survival is out of question. You do this or you die, or there's a complete destruction of nature. So that's what she says here. Doing nothing, that is being passive. Sometimes we feel like, oh, why should I do? Somebody else will do it for us. So that kind of attitude won't work. So she says very powerfully that there are no gray areas when it comes to survival. Now, sometimes we think that why should we do? Let the governments do, let the system do. But she's against that also. She says that we all have a choice. As individuals, we all have a choice. We all can be part of this transformational action. So she says that we do need a system change. We need the governments, the system, everything to change. But she says that individual change also amounts to something. People individually can make some changes. Only then will this start. So she again at this point, she is actually pointing to change which should start at the grassroots level. So finally she calls for action to people. So she says that if you look through history, you can say that all the big changes that happened in the society have been started by people at the grassroots levels, like people like you and me. We shouldn't think that we will be passive and other people will take the rebellion on. No, that's not an option anymore. If you do that, you are heading towards destruction. So here she is finally asking, so I am asking you to please wake up and make changes required possible. So each individual listening to Greta here, they are asked by her to make changes necessary. Do the best that you can do. Even that is no longer good enough, because we are already at a very bad plight. We are in an emergency situation. So she's saying that we must do impossible things. Again, now she turns attention to global oil crisis. She says that we are using about 100 million barrels of oil every single day. There's not enough oil resources in the world left to use and squander like that. So she says that no politics can change that. We do need oil for survival these days, but that means that we are actually using up all the reserves. The oil in the ground is actually finishing. So she says that at this situation, it's not safe to play by the rules. So she calls for a rule breaking. Rules have to be changed, but she wants a rule breaking at this moment. There is no time to relax for the rules to change and all. We are already in an emergency situation. So she calls the people to get up in time for a civil disobedience. She calls people to rebel against everything that is happening at the moment, because climate crisis is that much of a problem at the moment. So it is necessary for each and every individual to fight against it and make changes. We have to do the impossible at the moment. So looking back at the lyrical element of the track, so she starts with a very important message, calls attention to the gravity of climate crisis, and she says that even though we are at the state of emergency, all is not lost. There is still a ray of hope, and she says that we have to just stop being polite to each other and start speaking out against it. She offers a solution, that is to stop greenhouse gas emissions, and she again points your attention to the thing that doing nothing is not even an option. If you become passive, it will actually speed up the destruction. So she says that there are no gray areas when it comes to survival. And then she says that although you might think that there is a system change that is needed, individual change is also necessary. Change should initiate at grassroots levels. And then she calls people for action. And in between, she points to oil crisis, and finally she points to the fact that the present rules we have are incompetent to handle this climate crisis. So she calls for everybody for civil disobedience and rebellion against the present rules. So now that we have performed a content analysis of this track, you know the theme of it and how the message Greta was trying to convey to her audience. So she could have conveyed it simply through a speech. What was the need to put it into music, harmonize it into music? So now we will go ahead and analyze the musical elements and discuss the relevance of music in this track. So we can say for sure that the narration of the speech is put to harmony in accompaniment of music. That is very apt to create an ambience that is necessary to drive the message or the theme home. So it's not just easily conveyed the theme of the need of the hour to rise up in rebellion against climate crisis and people, the system turning a blind eye at it. It's not necessary to just put across with speech. We have to really get people's emotions invested in it. That is why they decided to create it into a musical, transform it into a musical video in accompaniment of the apt musical instruments and also images, the apt images and videos. So a look at a close listening to the track reveals that a few instruments are used, mostly electronic instruments are used. Instruments like ambience pads are used. They are used to create layers of sounds at all over the track, so that we will be feeling, when we listen to this, we'll be feeling like it's complete. It creates a feeling of fullness in it. So it's used to increase the intensity of track at all frequencies. And we can also analyze and find that electronic piano is used, and it is used recurrently. So there is actually a recurring phrase, a musical phrase, which acts as a leitmotif. This is actually reflected in the theme also. If we look at the lyrics again, we can see that some lines are repeating itself, or some ideas are repeating itself, that she warns the people, she warns that it is doom and it is an emergency, but then she gives a ray of hope. Then she says that we still have some things in our hands. So these these two messages actually alternate throughout the track. Likewise, a musical leitmotif, a musical phrase also recurrently appear in the track. And in places at the speech where she turns into rays of hope. She provides rays of hope to the listeners. We can see that the 1975, they are using strings, and whenever string instruments are used very effectively, it can actually arouse the emotion of the listener in favor of the theme. So they will feel more invested in the theme that is being conveyed through the lyrics. So we can definitely say that the music used in the track, it is used to complement the uttered speech and its theme, and it also draws attention and emotion into this song, so that the message is driven home completely. So that brings us to the end of this lesson on the 1975. I hope this was beneficial for you. It was quickly whipped together, and if there was some confusion regarding the lesson, please address me in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day ahead. Bye.